This is the Between Extraordinary Part 7. Let's go ahead and do some recapping. We had a lot happen last time. Just at kind of a high level, Lady Florence and Jakob discovered a subterranean portion of Hargrave House that kind of connected up with the sewers of London, and also discovered that Julius has been down there, sort of cultivating a little kingdom of Roman era ghouls, and that is a thing that's going on down there. That's not even a threat. It's just a thing happening in the story presently. There was a lot of drama associated with that, particularly related to Lady Florence and Jakob. Jakob ended up pinning Julius to a wall, and it kind of was implied that for a little while Jakob was lost. We don't know what happened to Lady Florence at all, and but I guess we'll figure it out. But Julius led his ghouls to an assault of Hargrave House. They kind of came out of the hole and were like attacking, but fortunately General Farsblet Mogg was able to repel the ghouls. First, he repelled some monks. We'll talk about that in a minute. He was able to repel the ghouls, but unfortunately, because Dominic did not stop Admiral Flagg from putting a couple of his men with General Farsblet Mogg's men, those men raided Hargrave House and stole shit for Admiral Flagg, importantly some sort of astronomy related stuff. The monks also were going to attack Hargrave House because they want the ring. They want the Ring of Solomon, and they didn't really get a chance to do that because Christian managed to steal the Ring of Solomon from Jakob and found Mizbalaqua, and essentially kind of like Nazgul and the One Ring, like as soon as he pulled the ring out to show it to Mizbalaqua, the monks were like, oh shit, there's the ring, and they left Hargrave House to go after it. Now, we didn't see them arrive, but we did see one of them attack Mizbalaqua. I think that's a good segue into the actual recapping of the mysteries here, or the threats. So the Demon of Kilburn Abbey, you are owed a clue from the Abbey courtyard, if I am to understand correctly, which I will give you in a bit. Let me just do it now. What was the nature of that clue? Like, how'd you find it, Ms. Balaqua?
Before I was attacked, and before Christian came to give me the ring, I had been poking around in the I guess night blooming jasmine scented gardens and peering in windows looking for movement and thing. And then
okay, good. You found several lengths of torn rope smelling of decay.
Understood.
You have 3 clues presently on the Demon of Kilburn Abbey. They are just different ways of dealing with the demon, the questions, that is. The Shoreditch Slugger. We had a fun stinger scene about the Shoreditch Slugger. Per the rules of the Shoreditch Slugger, you have one more phase remaining to resolve this threat, or it is lost to you. It cannot be resolved, and indeed, the Slugger becomes a servant of Admiral Flagg. Now, that's out of character information, but it is worth knowing. And so that is what's going on with the Shoreditch Slugger. You still have the question, what is the Slugger's weakness? And you can use that to defeat him or humiliate him or convince him to retire from Bout Club and into obscurity. You presently have 1, 2, 3, 4, a very respectable 4 clues on a 6 complexity.
Clerical question on that.
Yeah.
The Mars rock was taken by Flagg, but we still have the knowledge of
the
that
knowledge
as a
of it.
clue?
Yeah, you still
Okay.
have the knowledge of it.
Cool.
Yeah, even though it's you don't physically have it, unless you were intending to make it like part of the solution, like the weakness.
Got it. Like in a situation where it was more an active solution. As opposed to just Got it. Cool. Thank you.
Or it could be that you just go steal it back from Flagg, right? I mean, that's also an option. I mean, he lives right there. So the Limehouse Lurker, you still have the question of what was the vampire's home life like before it was turned, and you are meant to recreate a situation that will draw the vampire to you so you can cope with it. You have 1 clue presently on that complexity for question. There's also the side threat, which is where are the remains of Anton Farrow hidden? You have 2 clues on a. Did we answer that one? We did answer that one. I don't
We just
think
have to find the body, I think.
you just haven't done it yet. You know where the body is. You just haven't actually done it yet. That's right. Who can remind me where the body is supposed to be?
The mystery solution I came up with was the Reaver was murdering victims in the manner of their occupation. And then I added the detail that Anton might be a mason and therefore he's walled up somewhere.
Good. Yeah.
But I didn't
that echoes
call
the
it.
demon of Kilburn Abbey really nicely too. Yeah, that's great. Because the demon was unleashed when they unwalled a girl, a very well preserved girl, inside the walls of the abbey. Okay, great. So you just have to do that one then. Okay, good. And I think that one can actually be resolved at any time of day. Let me look. No, maybe not. I think you still have to do it at night like any other. So taking a look at the hunters right now. Everyone's in okay shape as far as conditions go. Dominic has 2 and Jakob has 2. But Jakob, I'm going to let you remove marked by Christian the dancer.
Oh, all right.
Because Christian has been finding other ways to amuse himself around the city, we'll say. And so we shall memorialize this by having you remove that condition.
Done.
Otherwise, I think we're okay as far as that goes. Are there any questions or anything else we need to discuss before we begin? Okay, then in that case, let's talk about our phases. Does anybody owe me Janus Mask from last time? That might be another game I'm running. I think it is. I think it's another game I'm running. Okay, so we don't have 3. We have more than enough threats right now, so there's no need to introduce a brand new one. And so instead, we shall just proceed with regular moves. Who has any? Well, let's start with Dom. What do you want to do today?
I think upon coming back to Hargrave House and finding it in the state it was in, he will want to have some words with our good neighbor.
How very interesting. And that's actually maybe not a bad place to investigate too, to be honest, because we know the slugger's been there, right? Okay, that sounds great to me. What about you, Lady Florence? Oh, Lady Florence, we have to figure out where you were. So
We do have to figure out where I was.
Yeah, because you just like disappeared.
Yeah, it kind of crossed my mind of what if I found the body while I was for the Reaver while I was snooping around down in the thing. I don't know if that
I kind of like it
at all. Yeah.
Yeah, like maybe you I mean it's a little coincidental. London's a very big city, but
we also established that I kind of knew what was going on.
That's true. Oh, you did.
right?
That's right. Yeah, you kind of knew what Reaver was doing, right? Okay. I like the idea of you found the remains. You still have to deliver the remains to the pharaohs, but you can have them. I think that sounds good to me. Do you want that scene, or are you okay with just kind of saying it happened off screen?
I'm okay with saying that it happened off screen. We could even tie it into, I don't know if we want to do a scene where she comes out of the ground or whatever. It's fine from my perspective.
You might be the last one to arrive in the morning at Hargrave House. Fantastic. What about you, Ms. Balakwa?
Well, I think that I might write a little, send off a letter to the man in the sun mask in order to do a little investigating / flirting.
Okay, yeah, we like that.
And I don't think I'm going to go with Dominic. No, I think I would like to go with Dominic to see Admiral Flagg. I've not been to his Chimera.
To the Chimera, yeah. All right, sounds good. What about you, Jakob?
Well, my first thought was to, over breakfast, let Dom know that Julius is down in the basement, pinned to a wall, and possibly deal with that, and then go somewhere else. And I kind of do want my stuff back from Admiral Flag. So if it's not too many of us going to one location, I would do that.
Yeah, it might be
Too
might be a
much?
little awkward. Well, Lady Florence, what
All
are
right.
you going to do today?
I mean, that was I Flag is obviously like my nemesis, and so my initial thought there was if I find out that Flag has stolen things from us, I am definitely marching over
Well,
there.
and you can call for scenes with Flag, right? Because you're the explorer. So
Ooh, I
like you don't even
can.
yeah, like you don't even have to like this doesn't even have to be like a the whole thing, right? Like you can
Okay.
just like do it, Um and so yeah, I think that's good. I think it might be good to have that scene first with Lady Florence and Flag, since that's sort of your privilege as Lady Florence, the explorer. And then maybe we have Dom and Jakob and Ms. Balakwa show up afterwards if they still want to. Um,
And if that's too crowded, I'll go poke at the orphanage again. We talked about that in the past.
yeah, we have never really followed up on that. We haven't got a chance to. So I think that's probably okay too. Let's see how that scene goes with Lady Florence and Flag then. All right, good. Okay, so in that case, let's dive right into it. So let's just read your moves so that we're kind of aware of what we're having to accomplish here narratively, Lady Florence. The grand game. The mastermind is your arch nemesis, and you can see more clearly than most how they are manipulating the events from behind the scenes. Um, the mastermind clue thresholds are lowered by one. That's important to note. Mastermind clues can now be used for the answer a question move. Oh, that's a thing too. Did you know that? You can use mastermind clues. They get marked off like for answer a question. You can use them that way. If you have an intimate moment with the mastermind while you are engaged in your vice, clear an appropriate condition, and the mastermind can ask you any question they wish. You must answer truthfully and completely. So, what is your vice?
My vice is gambling, essentially.
No, that sounds good. Okay. So, what's the scene here with you and Admiral
Casinos.
Flag then?
Um, I mean, I think I've come out of the hole, come up out of the hole in the ground, and maybe I hear the rest of the group kind of like murmuring about like, oh, where's this thing? And instantly it connects with me, like Flag. And maybe there's some like, yeah, there's some barnacles or something like that, like within Hargrave House, and I'm shooting daggers from my eyes at Dom as I march over there and don't tell anyone where I'm going. Um, and storm over and do the classic at the door. Um, and presumably someone answers.
Someone does answer. So Admiral Flag actually lives with his former crew of the Chimera. They're all like old men and some old women, and they go about like like they're on the deck of a ship. So I think like an old man with tufts of white hair and like linen pants, no shoes, and no shirt, like opens the door, and like a striped
Mm-hmm.
kerchief tied to his head. He opens the door and he says, he looks at you and he says, "Do you have permission to come aboard?"
Of course I do, old Jack.
And he says, "Just wait here." And he goes to the captain's stateroom to see if he's having visitors today. And Admiral Flag actually comes out to meet you. He is still in his sort of like dressing gown, he has not gotten dressed yet. Long kind of dark blue brocade gown. And he says, "Lady Florence, what a splendid surprise so early in the morning."
Is it really a surprise, Flag?
"I heard you had some trouble at Hargrave House last night. I heard guns going off. I do hope everything was as you expected to find it upon your return."
I suspect that you more than heard those guns going off. And you do know, just because you have been so generous in your gift giving, that it does not entitle you to remove items from Hargrave House when you and your obscene crew come in. for a visit.
Lady Florence, I am offended. I am offended that you would accuse me of such chicanery. Aren't we colleagues? I was only all too happy to provide help to Herod in the defense of Hargrave House, and here you are accusing me of stealing certain pieces of astronomical equipment.
Is there truth to the accusation, though, Flag? Let's be square with each other here.
Says, of course there is. I suppose you want it all back then.
That would be splendid. How can we arrange that?
Well, and he says, how about a game of cribbage?
And Lady Florence, like, you could just see the tension kind of like just release from her body, and like her eye kind of like perk up. And she says, "Oh, I haven't played a good game of cribbage in a long time, Flag."
And he will take you to his little sitting room. Well, it's his stateroom, and it's indeed decorated like the captain's stateroom. It's a parlor that has a bed, which is weird, and like maps and other things on the walls, right? And one of the sailors brings in coffee service or whatever, and he's got the little cribbage boards out, and he says, "So we know what you're playing for, but what am I playing for, Lady Florence?"
Supposed to keep the items? I feel like this is fairly obvious.
I already have the items, Lady Florence.
What would you want to play for then?
Perhaps it'll come to me. And then he deals the cards, and you begin your game. I'm going to go ahead and give you the question he's going to ask you so you can think of your answer. He says, "Tell me, Lady Florence, I know about your explorations of the worlds beneath the waves, but have you ever had a chance to seek out the stars? Or have you ever been in contact with travelers from outer space?" And indeed you have. But you can think of the details. We'll come back to it. Well, Dom, these goods are being taken care of, but that doesn't preclude you from using the distraction of going into the Chimera and maybe still doing some other kind of investigation. What do you want to do?
Yeah, I think he'd, especially seeing Lady Florence stalk off like that, he would assume she has good reason to think that whatever they've lost is probably there. I think he would go with the intention of trying to return their stolen goods, but also if he sees something about the meeting last night, that might be worth investigating.
Yeah, I like that. So you're gonna break in, sneak in? How are you getting in?
When Lady Florence is at the front door, I think Dom is going to try and slip in a side window.
Oh, I like that. Let's do a day move. What are you afraid is going to happen if you get caught, or if you just fail?
I'll get caught.
Okay, good. I think this is going to be with composure, and I'll let you have advantage because of the distraction from Lady Florence.
That's 4.
Or I think you slip in. You slip into a room that looks like a cargo hold. There are barrels and crates and things stacked up all around the room. And you feel the cold steel of a knife blade up against your throat. And someone with smell of rotten fish on their breath, says to you, "We don't like stowaways on the Chimera, and certainly not stowaways that want to steal our cargo. What do you suppose I should do with you?" Yeah.
Dom would kind of grunt a little and say, "Cast me overboard. Try again next time."
No, no, no. I think it's time you walked the plank, metaphorically speaking, of course. And you can tell he's about to cut your throat. What do you do?
I guess I'll put on a mask.
Oh, you don't have to die automatically. You can react and try to
Oh.
stop him. Yeah.
Then I'd grab one of my knives from my side and get him in the thigh, hopefully.
Another day move. What are you afraid is going to happen if you fail?
I won't be fast enough to prevent a little slice.
Indeed. Go ahead and roll with vitality.
That's 10.
Nice. We'll come back to that. Ms. Balakwa, Jakob, I do feel like the situation at the Chimera is pretty well sorted at the moment. Ms. Balakwa, you have a lot of information about Kilburn Abbey, but or you have some leads, but you haven't really gone too deep on it yet. So I don't know if you want to continue with that or not. Christian has not made it back yet from wherever he was. So that's interesting, maybe. And you said we're going to put out word to the man in the sun mask. I think that's good as well. I think you don't even have to like physically do anything. I think you and the man in the sun mask are just very in tune with each other, given your supernatural nature, or at least your supernatural nature and his seemingly supernatural nature. So how do you make contact with him in your way?
I think that I still send a card. It is black and with no text. And once he receives it and he opens it, he can hear my voice in his head. Something to the effect of, I'm drawn to your masked light like a moth to a candle in the dark. Let us meet tonight and discuss it further.
You get the response, and the response is just an image in your mind. It's an image of where he wants to meet you tonight. And I think the place he wants to meet you, let me find somewhere salient. It's some sort of wine cellar. You can see big barrels of wine. You can see a little table. You can see a cloth laid out with glasses. And you know immediately where the wine cellar is because you see a monk just putting a cask up on a shelf and then leaving the wine cellar.
Victoria draws the top card off of her deck, and it is the cross, the reversed cross, and she just stares and spins it
The
for a
always
while,
reversed cross. Yeah.
contemplating that
Yeah.
situation. She now has the ring strung on a chain on her neck and doesn't necessarily want to go to the Abbey, but we'll consider that. In the meantime, would be happy to.
Do you want to roll the veil or thinning the veil?
Yeah, maybe that would be the best way.
Yeah, go ahead.
8 plus 2 is a 10.
Well, I think I have to tell you what and why, right?
Is it a 10 plus? I think so. Yeah. What and why?
Yeah. What's about to happen with relation in regards to this situation is the man in the sun mask is indeed going to have a romantic dinner with you in the wine cellar of Kilburn Abbey. Why is it about to happen? Because he ultimately wants to show you where they found the body and where it was walled up. And the reason, just to go a little further on that, the man in the sun mask is very concerned about like slipping between worlds and liminal places. And that space is such a place.
I see.
Jakob, you are heading over to the Limehouse School.
I've got an idea on
Okay,
my path there.
I love it. Yeah,
we can do this. So, sort of rewinding just a little bit to morning breakfast. Sipping my tea, and I say, "Dom, I have a treat for you. I've got a surprise. You're gonna love it. It's down in the basement. So once we're done with breakfast, let me show you."
Oh, no. Thank you.
This is before Dom leaves.
This is before Dom leaves, right?
Okay,
yeah. I say, no, really, it's you're gonna love it. It's I don't want to spoil anything, honestly, but let's just finish breakfast and then come with me. It'll be magnificent.
Yes, well, Christmas is 11 months away. We'll save it for that, shall we? And then I think Dom will follow Lady Florence out.
Oh, and then I'm just like sipping my tea, like, and set my cup down, and I'm gonna backtrack. I think rather than just walking to the orphanage, I want to go interrogate Julius a little bit about what he knows about the Limehouse lurker. If that's all right.
Oh, interesting. That's very interesting. Yeah, I like it. I want the night move for
Okay.
going back down into the sewers and navigating to where Julius is, knowing that there's ghouls and shit down there.
Yep.
What do you afraid is going to happen if you lose your nerve?
That in re-triggering the javelin of Jajatos. Is that the name of the javelin? Sorry, I've got to remember the name. I think it's something like that.
It's something like that, yeah.
In re-triggering that javelin, it really, like in defending myself against the Roman ghouls, that it releases Julius.
Yeah. Zazatar is in fact the javelin.
Thank you.
Yeah. That's great. It's worse than that. It's worse than that. I think as you are navigating to where Julius is, you're going down this dark space, you might discover that Julius has already figured out how to escape. Go ahead and roll with composure.
All right.
I wanted a disadvantage because of London's very different from Wales.
All right. What does that give me? 6.
You...
Oh, sorry. No, opposite. 8. Sorry, my composure is 1, not -1.
Oh, okay. Well, in that case, you're going to be able to get to Julius fine, and he will be trapped still. But not before you turn a corner down below and see one of the ghouls there chewing on a bone, or a rat, say. There's a rat twitching in its jaws. It turns and just gives you like a puzzled look as the rat flops around in its mouth, and then it just lets it drop, seeing much more delicious fare, and runs at you. What do you do? You're muted, Brian.
I think I'm gonna smack it with the hammer of Gontos. Now you're muted, Jason.
The Hammer of Gontos. Let's take a look at that. Can sunder any object. So what are you going to sunder?
I'm hoping to sunder the ghoul.
Okay. I'll take it. Go ahead and roll the night move again. What are you afraid is going to happen if you fail?
I get chewed on by a ghoul.
Indeed, indeed. Go ahead and roll with vitality.
All right. Only a 6? Good grief.
Actually, I was worse than that. You would get eaten, and indeed, Julius is going to come gloat over your body.
That's
the ghoul easily dodges your, I assume it's your cane again that you're using. And
yeah, I think we were implying that the cane is sort of the focus of my magical powers until maybe I learn that it's not.
It gets underneath you pretty easily and tackles you down and sends the cane flying, and it pins you down and it has you held there. And for a moment, it doesn't even sink its teeth into you right away. It takes the time to sort of like smell you. You have a curious smell to it, something it didn't expect. And it's just sort of like, and then it abandons all caution and sinks its teeth into your throat, sending blood spraying everywhere. And as it rips your throat out and sends a sling of blood up against the stones in the dim lantern-lit dark, we see Julius come up and just kick the thing off. And he looks down at you. He has a massive burn scar in his chest. And he says, "This is an interesting turn of events, isn't it, Mr. Walsh? I would like, of course, to finish you off, but I can't stand the thought of that thing having touched you." And he leaves you to bleed out and die. Unless you put on a Janus mask.
Yeah, I think I'll put on a mask. It seems the right prudent move right now.
I think you'll be fine. You will be able to destroy the ghoul, but I think you break the cane in the doing of it. Go ahead and describe how you, or we'll come back to it. Lady Florence. What's your answer?
So, yeah, Lady Florence kind of, the hands have been dealt. Lady Florence like smiles at the question, and says, cribbage is one of those games where kings are high. And I have to admit to you, Flag, that after spending so much time with those lowly aces of the deep, I certainly turned my eyes to higher aims. Honestly, it really feels like the last time I truly knew anyone was up there. What I'll tell you, Flag, is that when it comes down to it, there is a king in my crib, has been at least. And what comes of that is now your mystery to solve, isn't it? Lots of references to cribbage and to space.
Yeah, I know. I picked up on that. He says, "Well, I may be closer than you think, Lady Florence. I have, in fact, made contact myself. He's a very interesting fellow. I think he has for many years turned his eye away from our little rock, third from the sun. But I have persuaded him to reconsider his position. I believe he will help usher in a new era of humanity, a new age for London itself. Oh, how I hate London. I have seen many terrible things during my years of service, Lady Florence. Dark things that I'd soon forget. But nothing compares to the festering wound of London. The pampered peer, cruelly oblivious to his privilege. The accountant clawing his way up that calamitous ladder, kicking down those beneath him, the lost souls in the rookery. All are equal in my eyes. They are merely different symptoms of the rot. And Jizod will help clear that rot. He is the great cosmic antiseptic, if you will.
For the first time that I think any of us have seen, Lady Florence just blushes. Like this like intense, just kind of like flustered blush.
And then he says, "Oh, look, you've beat me. Oh, well, I'm a man of my word. I shall get your rock and other sundries. But really, what were you going to do with them anyway, Lady Florence?" And I don't remember exactly what items he took, but you can have them all back, whoever they were taken from.
I think it was the astrolabe and the Mars rock were the two
Right.
ones.
For me,
right.
those. Yeah.
Yeah. And at this point, you both might hear a little muted scuffle from somewhere in another part of the house. Dom, give us that scene.
I think Dom will just ever so subtly just nick the man's uh artery in his thigh, and just quickly enough that the pain wouldn't register right away. And he'll just tilt his head back and say, "You may want to look to that. I believe 15 minutes, 20, if you're very lucky." And then
yeah,
hopefully slip away.
you can indeed. Where do you go after you slip away?
I assume I've never been inside the Chimera before,
I
so
don't
I'd
think
be
so.
looking for an office, some place that would be plausible Flag would store his ill-gotten goods.
Indeed. I think the scene is actually this, if Lady Florence is okay with it. You're about to step out into a hall, or you're about to go into the stateroom when they step out of the stateroom, and and Flag is like escorting her to the front with the astrolabe and the moon rock. You can then slip in behind. I think that's okay.
Sure.
Give me an information move while you sort of search the place.
Reason?
With composure.
8.
8. I think the complication is going to be the slugger is there in the house. We'll come back to
Sounds
that.
good.
Yeah. Ms. Balakwa, once you're done getting your insight into this dinner date with the man in the sun mask, what do you do?
Still feeling very trepidatious about going to the Abbey while also carrying the ring of Solomon. I think that I might go back to Limehouse and find some investigation distraction there. See if I can find more information about the. I think that probably going to the workhouse.
Yeah, which has still really not been investigated. I mean, we've just seen it. Good. So I'll remind you that the workhouse, this so-called Limehouse School, is basically just a place where they store poor children until they can turn them out, right? And they do put them to work making small little handicrafts, but the kids are really bad at it, and they're kind of just, there's a lot of signs of like just these are just kids who are being managed rather than being nurtured, right? And I need to remind myself of my characters here. You know that Mr. Chesterfield, the headmaster, has a gang of some of the kids work for him and steal things for him and mug people, because I'm sure Jakob told you it's at some point. And so when Mr. Chesterfield comes up to you, he's very deferential when he sees you, a kind of well-dressed lady coming to the Limehouse School, and he says, "Oh, madam, let me guess, you are here to make a no doubt generous donation to the Limehouse School. The children, of course, do appreciate the philanthropy, the largesse of people of your social status."
Let me just stop you there, sir. And she senses someone behind her and slaps at a wrist of a kid who's trying to maybe reach into
Someone's
one of
trying
her
to pick her
pockets.
pocket. Yeah.
I find that most situations, when you collect children like this, lead to quite a bit of crime. And I would like to make it very clear that I am here to make sure everything is on the up and up.
Very well. What would you... I find it very, very difficult to deny you your request, madam. I'd be happy to accompany you on your tour.
2 steps behind me, please. And she'll
Of
just
course.
burst through the door and into the school, and I would like to see what I can see.
Yeah, just do an information move for looking around with reason, I think.
It's a 9 plus, I don't know what my reason is. I so very rarely reason things.
One.
Yes, 10 total again.
Good. I'll give you a clue in a bit. Jakob, you've decided to put on the Janus mask in order to avoid being murdered by Julius
Yes.
and the ghoul. Instead, I think your cane breaks in defending yourself from the ghoul. Just give me the scene.
Yeah. I think that I take the cane and swing it, as one would swing a hammer at the ghoul, and the ghoul just grabs it and he just bites right through it, chews it in half essentially. Casts the 2 parts to the side, and then as it's lunging in for me in a panic, my fingers double up again, and with 20 fingers I just go wham and smash its head into a little pulp. I'm being knocked back by the whole thing, of course, into the muck, but kind of realized for a moment there, like, wait, this was me. And so I'm doing the cosmic gate mask, or cosmic passage mask, and that unlocks for me finally the vault of the cosmic mind.
Oh, very good.
So here in the underground, I have a moment of revelation.
Yeah, I love that. Is there anything else you have to do, or does it just happen automatically?
It just happens. I do have one question. So my 4 keys were already assigned to the Vault of the Four Limbs. They can't be reassigned until
dawn. Yeah.
Next dawn. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I think that, and
That's
then
good. I like it. Yeah.
in picking myself up, I'm gonna retrieve the parts of the cane for right now, if only for sentimental reasons, and that we haven't discussed what the top of the cane is yet. I think that should be come around later. And I'll head to where I left Julius.
I like it. Lady Florence, what do you do once you're done with Admiral Flag and dropping off? Presumably you drop off the Mars rock and the Martian rock and the...
Is Dom still following behind? Have we established that?
Dom is in the stateroom presently where the 2 of you just were. He's
okay.
Yeah,
now I understand. Okay.
Yeah. He slipped in after you guys left, essentially. Yeah.
Could I say that I get outside, take a deep breath? You can see that the red complexion leaving my face, and kind of do that sort of like tilt of the head as I smell something, and I smell honey in the air. And so I'm gonna loop back and sneak in through the back of the Chimera.
Oh, I like it. That's good. the complication didn't say where the slugger was, only that he is in the house. And so, day move. What are you afraid is going to happen if you don't pull this off?
I mean, I know that Flag is up to something at this point, and I think that whatever that thing is could happen immediately.
Oh, interesting. That's vague, but I can play with it. Um, roll with composure.
Okay.
And I'm gonna. Oh, also, you're entitled to clear a condition. We didn't really show it, but I think that maybe one of the sailors brought you like a liver to put over your eye.
It's been a few days too,
That's
and
true too.
maybe
Yeah, some time has
maybe me
passed.
being
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
like embarrassed or shocked by the conversation that Flag had just
Yeah, I meant to. You can just have cleared. Yeah, I think
finishes
it's
it off.
fine. Yeah, yeah.
Oh God.
Go ahead and roll with composure though.
It's a 5 even with the +2.
5. Well, one eye heals while the other gets blackened anew as you step inside the sort of back entryway and find the slugger's fist connecting with you. It is worse than that, though. The slugger packs a wallop. You are taking
Mhm.
2 conditions: black eye, but also rattled. He has shaken your cage, and you slam down on the ground.
I think I'm going to Mask of the Past this.
Okay. I have to tell you how you'll be vulnerable.
Okay.
You will be vulnerable because I think the slugger will be following you around in the house. If you're okay with that, well, obviously you kind of have to be. So,
Fair.
otherwise, you can turn around, right? You can like proceed to not do this. You can just leave the scene. So you have that
Oh yeah,
option.
because it is day.
Yeah.
I just like it. I don't know what else I'm gonna do today, so I'm just gonna let's sally forth.
Very good. So you're sneaking around the back, and Dom, you're in the stateroom, but you smell the smell too. You smell the honey, which might, I don't know, like maybe there's something to find in here, maybe there's not. Maybe you get distracted. What do you do?
That is going to reprioritize his search. He's no longer looking for. Would he have noticed that Flag was carrying the things from Hargrave House when they left, or would he still be looking for it?
Oh yeah, I think yeah. You saw Lady Florence with the stuff,
Okay,
like leaving the house. Yeah,
right. So then, yeah, once he smells the honey, he's going to be looking for any kind of connection to the slugger.
yeah, yeah. You can follow your nose. I'll let you do the information move with vitality, actually. And I think, oh, actually, did you just do the information move?
Yes, that's
Oh,
what got me in here.
so I owe you a clue. I'll give you a clue. I'll give you a clue, and if you want to, from the stateroom, and then if you want to follow your nose, I'll give you another information move with vitality.
Sure, I'll do that.
Okay.
+3, 9.
All right, so I owe you 2 clues. Let's take a 5-minute break so I can look at all the clues I owe, and then we'll come back and finish our scenes. While we were on break, it occurs to me that there's a very interesting mechanical and game consideration going on here that might have escaped your notice. If we think that Brian is eventually going to replace Admiral Flag with Jizad, the High Imperator of Venus, because that's what the Martian does, the clues on Admiral Flag, the mastermind clues you currently have no value, and they can be used. You probably should use them in the threats, right? Because they're just going to get wiped. The slate's going to get wiped clean whenever that happens. A thing worth pointing out. It's an interesting combination of the Martian and the Explorer being in the same game.
That's a good point.
Yeah. So let's continue. Ms. Balakwa, you're taking your health and safety tour seeing how the kids are doing. And you don't notice anything that like in the environment that stands out as like evidence of like the lurker necessarily. But one thing does kind of stick out. And at a certain point, um, at a certain point, one of the teachers comes out of an office or some room, and she says, Mr. Chesterfield, I was straightening up your office, and I noticed that one of your books was missing. He says, really? Which book was missing? She says, your book, the history book of the one about ancient Sumer and ancient Egypt. And he says, and he kind of looks back at you and he says, I'm something of an ancient history buff. Are you telling me one of the children has stolen my book? She says, I believe so. And then she sees you and says, of course, we will ask all of the children politely if they know what happened to it, and we will have a firm but entirely reasonable talking to the culprit once it has been discovered. And
You know, this actually is a wonderful time to accomplish that. Let's assemble the children now and ask them.
indeed, you can do all that.
Yep.
And you can poke and prod, and the kids will vociferously, say they didn't do it. And indeed, you don't have any reason to think they didn't.
In asking the kids questions, it would be more along the lines of, what have you seen that's suspicious lately?
Oh, good. Yeah. Well, you've got your one clue. So your one clue is that a book,
that particular book,
it was gone missing from Mr. Chesterfield's office. You can do an information move with presence to get another.
I would like to, amongst the assembled children, just asking, all right, well, no one is in trouble.
Yeah. What have you seen? What have you seen?
Yeah. 7 plus, did you say reason?
Presence.
9.
Okay. I think one of the kids are being very like just fucking kids, they are. And once they're all like kind of let go, I think one little girl in particular, she comes up to you and she kind of like shyly tugs at your sleeve. And she says, I've seen something.
I crouch down to get at eye level. Yes, dear?
She says, there's a boy. He brings me things at night. I think he's the one who took the book. And then you hear like a little, like a squeaking inside her coat. And she's got something in there, like a mouse or something. And when she pulls it out, it's a bat. She says, he brought me this. And the little bat is kind of squeaking and stretching its little wings.
They're such charming little creatures. What a sweet gift for you.
And she says, don't tell Mr. Chesterfield.
No, he's a nasty man. He has problems with his mother.
Your clue is the lurker, as well, you can interpret it however you want, but he's been giving gifts to this little girl, one of which is a bat. So.
Well, I have seen all I care to see here. Mr. Chesterfield, you should write to your mother. Just leave.
Indeed. Let's check in with Jakob. So Jakob, you find Julius where you left him. And he says, oh, have you come to finish off the job?
Well, I had some questions first.
Can I tell you how absolutely crushing this is to my sense of self-worth and dignity, that I should have been defeated by you, and indeed I
Yes,
may
I'm
in
sure.
fact be
I'm sure.
destroyed by someone like you.
But I
Even though
have
you do
questions
have
that you
certain
should really,
tantalizing qualities about you, you
should
are
really answer.
nevertheless
I'm just going to
quite
slap him
a
with my
wet
hand.
drip. Indeed. He says, oh, if I can ever figure out to get free of whatever this is, he has this crackle of energy coming out of his chest. I am going to enjoy draining you dry, Mr. Walsh.
Yes, yes. Look, my
And then I'm going to
understanding is that
find,
you have been around for a while, since perhaps even this
yes,
was Londinium.
I have been
And
around for a good while.
I'm curious about, I can see where someone of your age might forget things or be careless in how they treat others, but I'm curious about your habits and where you might go if you were searching for children.
I have no need or concern for children. They're incredibly boring creatures. I've eaten a few, and their blood has, well, it's like drinking a bottle of wine that was, when they picked the grapes on Tuesday. I mean, it's not that good.
A juice box, if you will.
Indeed.
Um, I'm on the search for one that I think is one of your kind, possibly even
Oh,
one in your
I know, the
progeny.
so-called Limehouse lurker. Just get to the point, really.
Yes, yes. I'm curious about how they may have been raised. What you can tell me about that?
And
Not by you, before you, their true parents.
I don't think you've really given him a reason to help you. You need to give him a reason to help you.
Yeah. I mean, I might eventually release you, but you've already threatened me. It doesn't seem prudent. Um, maybe I can offer you just a little sustenance. You must be starving right now.
So you're going to give me a taste of your weird blood.
Yeah, a little bit. Keep you going.
Make the information move with vitality.
Alrighty. That 7.
Mm. The complication is going to be, he is going to drink a little too deeply. I'm going to give you drained as a condition.
Yeah, that works.
He says, so what first, business or pleasure?
Oh, business.
Hmm.
You know, no free drinks on the house around here.
You do have me
Beneath the
sort
house,
of
if you
over
will.
a barrel at the moment, figuratively speaking. Listen, the lurker. The lurker is a fairly recent development, but I think you've figured that out already, haven't you?
Indeed. There's only room enough for so many of your kind in this city, it seems.
Mm. Well, I didn't turn him, if that's what you're asking. It was fool, a fool woman, the boy's mother. She turned him. She couldn't bear the thought of him growing up and growing old and dying and her having to watch it all. She was a member of my nest for a time. Yes, it's true. I strongly encouraged her not to do what she did. Well, what else do you want to know? I don't know where she is. I don't know where she comes from.
What's her name?
Oh, must you ask me such things? I don't know. Caroline, Coraline, Maybelline. There was an I and E, if I recall correctly. Jasmine.
You seem to have I don't know, a memory for mortals that is just based on disdain.
Hmm. That's an interesting and entirely accurate way to put it.
I don't know, you've grown to, because you were once mortal yourself. You've grown
I have an
to,
interest in some mortals. You're one of them. And your colleagues upstairs as well. Very interested
yeah.
in
Why do you
them.
have such an interest in us? So what's that about?
Oh, well, it's a multifaceted reason, let me assure you. Maybe you could stop whatever this is, and I'll show you.
No, I think that we're gonna leave you here for a bit yet.
Then give me my drink.
You'll be useful still, I think.
Well, just shut up and bare your neck.
I will take the severed, broken part of the cane that's got a nasty sharp splinter on it and kind of slice my own wrist a bit to hold it up and give him a little bit of blood.
And he just drinks deeply and fast. He drinks very fast because of his age. He's able to drain you really much more quicker than you might imagine. And by the time you pull off, you do take the condition drained. And he's got just blood dripping from his mouth. And he's like, oh, there's something different about you, young man. I'm feeling a little woozy, in fact.
And as I pull back, I say, "You're quite the nasty thing. I may yet have my friend Dom have a heart to heart with you, so to speak."
I can see your parents. Not your actual parents, but the mortals who raised you. Oh, they live too far out in the country for me to make it in one night, but I bet if I got myself shipped over to their part of the country, I could come find them once the moon was high, and I could give them the time of their very soon to end lives.
You're clearly bluffing and have no more information for me. I'm going to turn and walk away.
Indeed. Dom, you did find a clue in the stateroom. A recreation of Da Vinci's Vitruvian Man that has been recreated to look very similar to the Shoreditch Slugger. That is your clue there. Now you another clue as well, as you are following your nose. And I think you find in one room where the smell is very strong. The slugger must have been there fairly recently. You find a few blood-red robes hastily discarded. Lady Florence, I think it might be fun to have you and Dominic meet up at this point as you're poking around the house. I will give you one information move on your own, though, if you want to just roll with reason.
Yeah, and I think the way that I would set up on that is that when we were in the stateroom and Flag left to go get the items, I was listening to the trail of his footsteps to know where he was going to get them. So I think
good.
that's
Yeah,
what
that's
I'm
good.
trying to like track architecturally through this weird boathouse.
I like it. Make the move with reason.
Okay. Oh God, what is this?
What'd you get?
It's a 4.
Oh, it is as before. You get popped in the jaw. You get rattled. Dom, you hear it. the slugger is attacking Lady Florence. What do you do?
Not knowing who's getting attacked or why, but suspecting that the slugger is involved, he's going to try and get eyes on what's going on.
Yeah, you can find Lady Florence there on her hands and knees, the slugger standing over her. Lady Florence, should you take the 2 conditions? Unless you intend to mark the Janus mask again.
Man, I think I just have to eat it at this
I think I
point.
suck it up this point. Yeah.
Yeah. And it
Dom,
was black eye and
rattled.
Rattled. Thank you.
The slugger turns and sees you, Dom, and he says, "This is just a day for people sneaking about, it would seem."
It's a pastime of our organization.
I always thought perhaps you were the more straightforward type. More of an
contain
X than an
multitudes.
O, as it were.
I like both.
Oh, versatile. Good.
Please don't kill her. She pays me
Does she?
sometimes.
I have no intention of killing her. But she showed up to Bout Club a couple of times. I have to tell you, I'm not impressed. I don't think she's... Well, I did sucker punch her, to be fair.
And as much as I enjoyed that, perhaps we can talk elsewhere.
Okay, fine. When? Tonight? I don't have time right now.
Yes. I live next door.
Oh.
Can you
Okay, yeah.
come?
Okay, yeah. This is weird. What a weird situation this is. He helps you up, Lady Florence. Sorry about that, but you take a punch really well.
Thanks, I guess.
You two had better go before the Admiral gets back.
Yes. And there's a man quietly bleeding out a few doors down. Don't mind him.
He just shrugs and goes about his day. And
Dom will not help Lady Florence at all. Back to the window.
Very good. That feels like a good place to wrap up the day phase. And you have a lot of clues now on a couple of the mysteries. So if you all want to start doing some theorizing in the dusk, I think you should probably do that, or answering a question. We'll take a slightly longer break so you can think about some solutions. We'll take 10 and we'll come back and we'll do the dusk phase. Be thinking about, well, in particular, probably the slugger and the Limehouse lurker. It is the dusk phase. First things first, I don't think there's any reason for Royal Explorers Club to come out unless you anticipate there will be, but you can always decide after the discussion here if you need to. Lady Florence, let's talk about Hargrave House. The library. Of all the rooms in Hargrave House, none feel more unstuck than the library. As you enter the library, what do you see or experience that feels a little off?
If you were to sit for a period of time in the library, watching one particular bookshelf, you will notice that the colors, titles, and perhaps even the positions switch when you look away and look back again.
I should add also that apart from the fact that Roger the Reaver apparently murdered somebody in there one time. So
yeah, that one time.
There's that too. But yes, books, love it. All right, what else?
There's one of those globes of the Earth, except that even though the names are right, the continents are all wrong.
think the floor is canted very slightly, moving down toward the back of the house. But if you were to measure or bring a level or anything, it never quite shows up, doesn't work mathematically.
It's surprisingly noisy in here for being a library. Like it's actually very hard to concentrate. Where those noises are coming from and why is just one of the mysteries of Hargrave House. But you always seem to be distracted whenever you're trying to concentrate here or drawn to something else, maybe.
I like the idea of that maybe these are like echoes of like the struggle when Roger the Reaver killed whoever they killed
Ooh, yeah.
inside the library. Oh, fabulous. Okay, good. So now, answer a question. You have enough clues to probably tackle two of these if you want, but I'll leave it up to you. Let's review the questions though real quickly. Well, first of all, what do we want to start with? The slugger or the Limehouse lurker?
Start with the lurker.
I'm fine with that.
So the question is, what was the vampire's home life like before it was turned? Complexity 4 allows you to resolve the threat by luring the vampire into a scene reminiscent of its home life and then destroying it or making arrangements for it to safely feed on a regular basis. So you have 4 clues available, and also the mastermind clues if you want, because the explorer's in the game. A voice heard saying, "Only the best children find safety in the sewers." The lurker gives gifts to a little girl in the workhouse, one of them being a bat. A book on ancient Egypt and Sumeria went missing. The lurker was turned into a vampire by its mother. Yes, it was. And so, what do we think?
I think if we want to pick a mastermind clue here, the holiday cheer one might be relevant, especially in the lurker giving gifts to the little girl in the workhouse, i.e., the bat. Like these are strange gifts.
What is
But
that
maybe
mastermind clue specifically?
he gave us that wreath
Yeah.
that's like the nautical wreath. So it
Mm-hmm.
was like, it was like, yeah, I appreciate the sentiment, but that's about all there is to appreciate here. Kind of similar to rabies ridden bat. Where it's like that's a nice creature, but
Wow, thanks.
really
Yeah.
brilliant from a storytelling perspective. But yeah.
I love it.
I was thinking, what if the child before he was turned, like what if there's a very rare chance of a human child born to a vampire, and this child was raised in the nest in the sewers as a human.
I
Oh,
So
1,000% had the same exact thought.
I was thinking like
interesting.
only the best children find safety in the sewers was something his mother would say, like, you're safe here because you're the best.
Oh, so Julius
And
forgot to mention that she was pregnant when he turned her. Is that the deal?
or it happened. Well, I mean, the child is a new vampire and young, so it the pregnancy happened recently, but I think the mother is very old, and the stolen books were to teach him about her life.
Oh, that's really interesting,
The
actually.
Why she turned him, either the idea of him growing old and dying became too much, or she just uh bloodlust lost control. But the
unless unless
gift, I
unless
was
he was
thinking,
literally born a vampire, like that would be interesting.
I suppose that's still, yeah, he was turned because born. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Like when Julius said, "I thought it was a bad idea." What he was really saying was she should have like had an abortion, like not had the kid at all. That's a darker interpretation of Julius's meaning, but I think it fits. But I don't know, it's up to y'all.
And the gift could be simply, that's the kind of gifts he got from his mother. Weird creepy sewer things.
Yeah.
So that's
Oh,
what
or
he
she gave
did.
him bats when he was young so he could eat like a bag of Cheerios.
Yes.
Well, and she probably has. Well, also, if like this is the kind of vampire mythology that they can like turn into bats. If she was a really old one, she might just have access to
Mhm.
bats, right? Like she might be able to call them up or whatever. Um, I think that's very fascinating. It's a good theory. Basically, what you're going to have to do is to set up a scene in the sewers to lure him there, right? Um, I think that's terrific. Lady Florence, if you want to add in like some clues, the clues, of course, being like things that can be make the scene more enticing to the lurker from the mastermind list, I think it's probably a wise move.
And I gravitate towards that first one. I'm not sure how the flag betraying Hargrave House with regards to the sculptor. That
Yeah, I'm not
feels like
sure
a
if any other
tough
was.
fit
That
here.
feels like a tough fit. Yeah, unless
But
we're just
the
yeah.
but that idea of the like these sort of like gifts that like resemble the world above but are actually representative of the world below, like maybe even like we bring that wreath
Oh,
down
yeah.
with the assumption that like this is this is the stuff below, and so maybe he would associate it with it. Maybe that's a gift that we give to try and mimic the types of gifts that his mother would have given him down in the sewers.
Oh, I think that's fascinating. Actually, that's really fascinating. Um, and even if it's not specifically that wreath, it could just be like something else that like is a gift that represents like something below, right? Like a thing that is below as opposed to being on the surface as a gift. Maybe interpreting it that way, I think would be kind of interesting rather than like the literal wreath itself. If anybody has any idea for like what that might be.
Well, in a gruesome way, one of the children from the workhouse.
Oh, how are they a gift from below though?
More a gift to below, like bringing the waking world down below, so that there's a companion.
Oh, I see. That's an interesting idea. That also might work into the like making preparations for him, or I don't know if you intend to kill him or if you intend to make plans for him to feed, but that might also have a bearing on how you use this last clue.
Is it possible, Jakob, that you got anything in your adventures, or that you or I like picked up some like ghoul parts or something like that from our time down below in the basement?
Make a little mother,
That
a ghoul mother,
Little like
definitely just
effigy of a ghoul mother kind of thing.
or
yeah.
just like a do a weekend at Bernie's or something, or like, with, there's probably a couple of ghoul corpses in the kitchen, so um,
All right, well, maybe we're thinking about this too literally. Could
okay.
we create an environment in which we collect a bunch of bats that are probably already down in those sewers and create a quote unquote homey environment, much
Mm.
like his mother would have been, that swirl of bats that she can control. Maybe we're creating that little memory moment for
Yeah,
this type
I
of
think
vampire.
I'd still give you credit for the like gifts thing from Admiral Flag as well as a sort of like inspiration for that. I think that would be pretty cool.
Maybe there's some rats mixed in with the bats, just
Yeah,
to, yeah.
do a whole thing.
Are they all wearing
Make a wreath with
hats?
bats and rats. No, I love it. I think just the general idea of like creating like a space down below that is going to like kind of reflect his early life, I think is what we're really kind of aiming for here, right? I think you've got plenty of clues to justify a roll for that, a +1 on the roll. Um, Whoever wants to roll it, if everybody agrees with this basic outline, I think we should go ahead and roll it.
I switched dice, but my dice have been terrible, so I don't know.
My thought is I've been rolling too well.
Ben, why don't you do it?
Yep. So +1,
Yes.
12.
We chose right.
That's fantastic. And Admiral Flag will show up for the resolution as well. So that'll be fun. Let's cross off this thing here since it is used. And what about the other what about the slugger? That's the one you got to get done tonight if you're going to do it.
I have a thought. So we kind of bandied about a couple of ideas on the break, but one thing that came up is, what if Priapus, the god that we know, the ritual to whom the source provides the slugger with this power, was Martian?
Oh, that's intriguing. Yeah, I kind of like that.
And maybe all of this with the slugger is, I mean, I know Jasad exists, but do we know that Jasad is corporeal? Because what if this is to prepare a host, a body,
Oh,
a
that's
fitting form?
intriguing. Yeah. That's really good, actually. Yeah. Well, let's review the clues. So, because the question is, what's the slugger's weakness, right?
Right.
So we have this Mars rock. Got it. Great. All the bout members have these tattoos of sun, moon, stars, or a combination. The slugger doesn't seem to sleep. The tattoos on the slugger's chest are a map. A recreation of Da Vinci's Vitruvian Man looks similar to the slugger. Hastily discarded blood red robes, and I think you could probably use the astronomy stuff being stolen from the hunters as part of this as well. From the mastermind clue list. This is looking pretty good. I mean, the Mars rock speaks to well, so the thing is well, so Jazad's Venusian though.
Right.
It's Victorian space-time, right? We're just trying to get the slugger to resonate with space, and we're,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
making sure the rock is part of it's an inoculation for
Oh, got it. It's just it's space. Got it. Okay, so I mean, I think the tattoos make a lot of sense. The sun, moon, stars thing, essentially being kind of like a, it's almost like because Flag was really deeply involved in Bout Club. It's almost like Flag's joke or something about like what he's trying to accomplish with Bout Club. The tattoos on the map. Maybe if we add some context of what the map is.
So
Could
here's
it be a star chart?
Star chart.
There was a
Yeah.
reference earlier about those tattoos moving kind of slightly. And
Yeah.
so my thought was
It's
that
a
it
night
was
sky.
actually in
Yeah.
time with the orbit.
Yeah,
here's
that's
a
great.
thought on the Mars versus Venus thing. What if it is like a conquering? And so it's Venus conquering Mars
Oh, that's
is kind
good.
of
It's like
like what's
symbolic.
symbolized
Yeah, it's
here. And
symbolic. Oh,
so the
that's good.
map is even just kind of like that
Yeah.
sort of like the colonization of him
Yeah.
effectively.
I love that.
Even just, we know from our friendly Martians are strong. They have power. Maybe Venusians, by like physically, are not as strong. So using Mars's power to ready this body for it will just make him even stronger.
Yeah, I think the Vitruvian Man makes a lot of sense in this context. Even the red robes, because red is associated with Mars, right? Maybe there was like a ritual component to this. I'm
God,
loving
and the
this.
slugger doesn't sleep
That's the one
because
that, yeah, I
they're
can't
just
figure out.
running so hot. Their body in preparation for this invasion, so to speak. They just are literally running at full overload, and so there's nothing for their human body to like recuperate from any more longer.
I will say this is all great. I love the theory, but what's the weakness though? That's the thing. That's the actual question.
We have to decide right here and now what the Venusian weakness is. Because if that's
Unless it's the rock. I mean, it might be the rock, right? And the reason why it's a weakness is because I don't know.
Well, I mean, there's the classic kryptonite scenario, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking, like, what if it's more down to earth than that? This is all happening because Slugger doesn't know the end game. He doesn't know that he's going to lose his agency. The weakness is
the host
telling
is
him. Unwilling.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. You just tell him, like, look, this is what they're going to do to you. So yeah,
that's really neat.
Love it.
I like it a lot too. Yeah, I think that's great.
And
this is
doesn't sleep is just his body's getting stronger and stronger, preparing it, and weakness is leaving him like sleep.
Yeah. 5, 6, 7. You're at a +1 right now, which is pretty good.
Did we also say the mastermind clue of the ceiling mural of the Chimera was more about the astrological?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Well, the Chimera is the ship, and it's in the heavens essentially,
right,
because it's the ceiling of a church, which is usually like a view of the heavens. And so maybe it's kind of talking about the deal that Flag has struck with the Venusians here, that he gets to go and explore space, and there's the whole
it just generally speaks to his connection to the stars. I love it. That's fabulous.
Flag picking a fight with Lady Florence. Lady Florence has been to space apparently, and might know a lot more.
Are we at a point?
You know that?
So technically, are we at a point in the game where we are good with just burning all the mastermind clues?
I mean, it doesn't really matter because, like, if Jasad eventually arrives, none of these mastermind clues have any mechanical weight; they just go away.
I mean,
the end game is going to be Jasad regardless,
right?
So we
might as well it resets to 0. Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
The only argument for not burning all of them now on these 2 threats is that we may be able to find the useful. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Basically, Jasad becomes mastermind if I check Darkened Threshold.
That is correct. Yes.
I mean, 3 is pretty solid.
Yeah, I mean, if you use the one, if you use the 2 with the church image and the and Admiral Flag, like stealing astronomy equipment, combined with what you have with your other clues, that's a +2 on the roll, which is not bad. That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty solid.
Yeah, who wants to roll it?
I mean, I suppose I will, just because I bowed out.
Go for it. I'm so scared of rolls right now. I'm rattled.
You're rattled.
Yeah, you are. Little bleed there. Okay. 9 + 2 is 11.
Okay, good.
That works out great.
Okay, great. Okay. 2 questions answered. 2 resolutions ready to go. You can also resolve the Reaver's Last Victim tonight if you want. Just really clear the table if you want tonight. Start somewhat fresh next week. Well, let's talk about what you're all going to do tonight. So, plans. Dom, I think we know what you're doing. You're probably going to talk to the Slugger, right?
Yep.
Okay, that's reasonable enough. What about you, Jakob?
I think be involved with trying to bait the lurker down into the underground area.
Hey, what do you guys think about this? Just to connect it up with Ms. Balakwa's coming up scene, the date scene with his Man in the Sun mask. What if you put the lurker in the Abbey wall where the girl was? I'm just saying.
I have some inclinations of what I would like to do on this date, Jason, and a vampire's not it.
Vampire's not the thing. Okay, great. All right, so it sounds like Jakob is then dealing with that. It sounds like you're going on your date, Ms. Balakwa. And Lady Florence, what are you doing then?
Yeah, I don't know where where do we feel like is the call for?
I mean, regardless, the resolutions are going to be easy because you got 10 pluses on the roll.
Yeah.
So you can kind of just you could do something else. You can go investigate the abbey if you want. I mean, yeah. Or deal
Well,
with the
maybe it
remain.
makes
You have the
sense.
remains. You have the remains
Yeah,
too.
that's what I was
Yeah,
gonna say.
yeah.
Maybe like I'm headed the way with Jakob for
Mm,
the lurker stuff, but like my main
mm,
objective tonight is the remains
yeah,
of the Reaver's last victim.
yeah. Sounds good. Okay. All right, great. That is everyone sorted then. Let's talk about the unseen. I think that's what's next. Oh no, Janus Mask. Do we have any Janus Mask that needs to be resolved? You can wait till dawn, or you can do it right now.
Yeah, maybe give me till dawn.
I think for the unseen tonight, we are going to do. Did we do the tarot card reading last time? We did.
We did.
Let's make that red. Let's do a night at the Grand Guignol. Good for her. That is on line 31. Everyone is paint the scene. I'll read it first. Every class of people in London is represented in the audience at the Theatre Grand Guignol. They have come to watch a production of Good for Her, a story about a nanny that murders the upper-class children in her care. Paint the scene is everyone, of course. Act 1 will be Mike. Prompt 3, which is Act 2, will be Ben. And Act 3 will be Brian, which is prompt 4. Let's take 5. We'll come back and do the night phase. It's the night phase. The Theatre Grand Guignol, as the limelights pop to life and the crimson curtain is raised, what do we see as we scan the stage that shows how the nanny lives a modest life compared to the rich family she serves?
I think the set is designed to take up only about 4/5 of the stage, and just to the far right, just at the edge of the curtain, is a very boxy component of the set. The back is much closer to the stage, and it is a small little room that is almost invisible next to the opulence of the main set.
For the opening scene, we see the nanny bringing a dinner tray to the two children, along with a plate of her own. And the audience can very plainly see the very fine foods that these children eat next to the bowl of indescribable muck that she is consuming.
She has a string of laundry, and you can see that the various socks are mended, and she parts them to hang a decorative wreath on the wall. So there's something that's more than just laundry cluttering up the room.
I think with all of the staging, we also see the children's rooms. Maybe they're kind of lofted above and they're painted something like that, like a backdrop, and they are just every detail of the nanny's existence is just within that room, the exact reverse, and yeah, opulence.
Ms. Balakwa, are you being picked up and taken to Kilburn Abbey? Are you going there yourself? How's this going?
I'm going there myself.
How are you dressed?
I think full skirts today, but much more casual than the opulence of our last date. And I will be veiled.
Hmm.
to obscure my face in case any monks happen to recognize me from the other night.
The man in the sun mask is sitting on a bench just outside the gate, in fact, of the abbey. And he's getting quizzical looks from the few passersby that are on the streets tonight because he's wearing a mask. And he's dressed in sort of like a deep mustard colored suit. And he says, "The veil is an excellent idea, considering your history with this place, but I have something even better, Miss Belacqua." And he pulls out a moon-shaped mask. He says, "Wear this, and we can walk amongst them, and they won't even know we're there."
That's an incredibly kind thought. I would prefer not to arouse any of their ire this evening. Well, their ire.
How does it feel when you put the mask on?
Much like looking behind the veil, it feels like receding behind it myself, and I feel oddly comfortable.
Good. He takes your hand and leads you into the front garden, where there is a monk on his hands and knees in the dirt, feverishly scratching the earth, so feverishly that his fingernails are cracked and there's blood dripping from them. Meanwhile, Jakob and Lady Florence, I think Jakob, where have you, the two of you are spending so much time underground lately, where have you decided to set up this little diorama for the lurker?
Have we, well, not just we, but has the fracas earlier with the Royal Explorers Club kind of cleared out the ghouls immediately below the kitchen?
That's fine. Yeah, I like that. I think that's okay. Yeah.
Because I feel like that might be a great spot to lure them into, and then if we do need to retain a I don't know, a little vampiric tyke pet for Hargrave House, we could just throw scraps through the kitchen floor. It'd be great.
What are you going to do to get him up to that point, though? Like, how is he going to know to like go there to the kitchen?
My
to
thought would be to leave a trail, and that trail should be some Julius blood.
Oh, interesting. So you're going to go like extract some blood from Julius in order to.
Lady Florence has not. I don't know if I don't know if I've revealed that to Lady Florence yet, but that would be my thought, is that we've got this, I guess older vampiric blood we could use as bait.
What about these little bats? And maybe they have been dipped or dripped with a dash of Julius's blood to let the lurker know that, yeah, these bats are for him.
So then let's just have the scene with the two of you making this like strange preparation in London to lure the lurker to your house. I mean, what are you doing, Lady Florence?
I'm probably being pretty delicate about it, and just maybe I'm actually just kind of like commanding Jakob and just sort of saying, just commenting on the whole thing and kind of saying like, okay, now you take the bat, yes, spread its wings like that, and just a drip in each. We need to make sure we don't have a lot of Julius's blood, so just a drip. Very good, excellent, perfect.
How's this
we
going,
need 30 more of those.
He's going to find them all across the city and eventually get to Hargrave House.
And this is my question: are these bats alive, or are these like
I don't know.
dead bats?
I don't know. What do you think?
Hobbled at least, Jakob. But we need to hobble them because we're creating a path.
So you clip their wings then.
If they're flying or scuttering about, this is never going to work. We'll have no idea where we're luring him. I know this may seem a little bit cruel, but this is one of those things that you just must do in the service of Queen and country.
don't we have like a collection of little bird cages? We could put them inside and then leave those strewn about.
I like that. You have
That's
little.
what you'd like to do. I think that works. You're very clever. That's
Also
why.
groups them to just take off their wings.
I like the idea of you putting little cages around the city with blood dipped bats. Um, what an interesting little treat for the
Yeah, I think
lurker.
that's it. I go scrounge around until I find I don't know, collection of bird cages left
I mean, you
from
might even
some
have
prior.
Hargrave House might have something like that in the basement, right? Like, there's
Yeah.
no telling what kind of weird shits in Hargrave House.
Leftover from a fairy skirmish.
Yeah,
4
exactly. Right.
dozen
Yeah.
bat cages.
Yeah. 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 Well, I know what to do with these now. Yeah.
This one still has a fairy in it.
Get out of here.
I got a really hungry,
Good.
angry fairy in a cage.
So while you're all doing that, um, Dom, the lurker, is in the entryway of Hargrave House. You're with him. And he's looking around and it's like, this is a lot more garish than I would have guessed, knowing what I know about you.
It is a place of residence, not home.
Hmm. Wait, place of work, not home. I think it's what you meant.
Well, I reside here currently too, so
Well, that's true. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But not home. Oh, I see. Not like a home. Yeah. He says, yes, well, this is, wow. What do we, maybe show me your room.
yes, uh, this way, and he'll lead the way up. And I think Dom's room, is definitely more Spartan, more uh, utilitarian, with his punching bag in the corner and his weapons along one wall.
He says, may I, to the punching bag.
Uh, Only if it remains hanging when you're done.
He's like, I'll pull my punch, don't worry. And he goes and he just sends that, it busts open, like it goes flying and just is like explodes basically. He's like I said,
Yeah.
I don't know my own strength sometimes.
So it seems.
How's the bed?
Resilient.
That's encouraging.
I think Dom is thinking it might be a good idea to test that before telling him the news.
Indeed. Meanwhile, back at the theater Grand Guignol, Mike, please describe Act 1, in which the two children are very abusive toward the nanny.
Yeah, this particular play comes out swinging. It kind of starts Macbeth or Hamlet-esque, where the kids are in a fog, and we find out that they are in the backyard and they are shoveling. They're talking to each other and they're saying things like, "Oh, she really is quite precious, isn't she? Yes, I think she will be very fun. I'm so glad that father has hired her." And in the very next scene, what makes this so thrilling for the audience of the theater is that there are trap doors in the stage, and as the nanny, they're playing a game of tag or whatever Victorian version of tag there is in the backyard, and the children are, "Oh, you'll have to get me now, Miss Nanny," and she runs and will fall through these trap doors just very suddenly and abruptly, and the crowd loves it, and the children, of course, love it even more. And they help her out of each hole and say, "It's so strange that we have all these holes in our backyard." And they just continue like playing this game as she falls into these holes.
Very good. Ms. Balakwa. You are led into the Abbey proper. I think it's the first time you've been in. And there are echoing hallways, weirdly long shadows, people avoiding your gaze, not because they're intending to, but because they literally can't see you. Everyone, let's paint the scene. What signs of the demon's influence do we see inside the Abbey?
Of the monks, we stroll past invisibly, my hand on his arm. I'm observing them closer than you typically would a Victorian stranger, and I can see that they've been almost compulsively pulling hairs. And so there are bald patches that weren't shaved clean, but look irritated.
The candlestick holders have been reversed and are mounted down, so the candles are hanging down and the flames burn towards the ground.
All the statuary has hands that are blackened as though they were plunged into fire.
I think the stained glass, all of the red in the stain has begun running down into the panels, frames below.
I'm going to give you a free clue, Ms. Balakwa, because you're able to observe the scene completely unobstructed and safely as well. The clue I'm going to give you you see a censer holding raw opium instead of frankincense and myrrh. That's your clue.
That you're doing, I whisper in his ear.
He says, "Let's not dally, Miss Balakwa." And he takes you down to the wine cellar. But you can note that clue as you wish. Jakob, Lady Florence is gone. We're going to let her pick up with the Reaver's last victim. But for now, describe the first moment when the lurker arrives in the backyard of Hargrave House to get the bat that's there. What happens?
Oh. You see, like at the edge of it, there's a fence, and this small being just leaps right over it. Doesn't even touch it on its leap, and it hits the ground in a all fours crouch. Scuttles forward towards that cage. Probably twists its head in that like really impossible angle that's creepy to get in and look close at the bat that's caged up, and maybe pokes a finger in, strokes it, and then licks the finger to confirm that this is another one of these bloodied bat baits.
I love it. Lady Florence, you are at a coffee shop with Lady Winifred Wheatley Grainworth, one of the members of the Royal Explorers Club. She is wearing a tailored men's suit and a monocle, and she always has gloves on. She's something of a... She has lots of affectations as a general matter. She's famous for that. Her family actually owns 4 Whitehall Palace, which is the headquarters of Scotland Yard. And so she can exercise some influence on their operations. And she says, "I have the address of that family, the Pharaohs. They actually lost a son, Mrs. Pharaoh did, some years ago. Roger the Reaver, do you remember that?"
Oh, There was Anton, was that his name?
Yes, Anton Farrow. Yes. Why do you need to
Oh.
speak to this family?
Uh
Lawrence?
we're just trying to clean up some bad memories of the past for them.
Oh, that is perfectly intriguing. So
Isn't
mysterious.
it?
Yes. Anything you care to share?
Um Most of it's available in the public record. Anton, an architect.
Oh, this
The
has to do with Roger the
Reaver.
Reaver.
Oh, oh my, did I let something slip there that I shouldn't have? Yes, it does. Confidentially between you and I, of
This has to
course.
do with Hargrave House, doesn't it?
Everything has to do with Hargrave House when it comes
Well,
down to it, doesn't
my
it?
dear, that is just your particular point of view. I think the other members of the Royal Explorers Club think that your association with Hargrave House, and indeed your fascination and obsession with the work that they do, it is, well, it's remarked upon, we'll say.
And I would remind you that much of the same conversations come about over Scotland Yard.
Yes, yes, indeed, indeed. Listen, I'm happy to keep doing what I can to keep Scotland Yard off your back, or to make them of service to you if needed. But, well, Florence, I think that Hargrave House is, well, I've heard rumors that certain higher ups in government, certain ministers, they are, hmm, they're a little nervous. They're a little put at unease by what they've heard about is happening behind those Gothic walls.
And what have they heard is happening?
Well, there was lots of gunfire the other night, for starters.
Flag.
Hmm. Well, I heard Herod was involved with that, actually. What are you all getting up to over there? Uh, Perhaps I should buy a mansion on Belgrave Square, hmm?
It would be wonderful, really, to have another neighbor, part of the Royal Explorers Club, for sure.
I,
Certainly.
I could pop by, we could have tea, and we could gossip and chat and really just make the whole thing a little daily hen do. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Flag does all the time, and honestly, he is awful. I just wish he would disappear from the planet altogether.
Hmm. He's a bit much. He's not
Isn't
exactly,
he?
well, it's his eyes. I've never seen somebody with such clouded looking eyes. It's like he's looking at you, but looking through you at the same time. You know what I mean, right?
I can't remember the last time I looked him in the eyes, to be honest. Such a
Yeah,
foul man.
lucky you. All right, well, here's the address. And she gives it to you.
Thank you, Winifred.
And Dom, once you and the slugger are catching a
Crazy.
break, having a rest, what are you doing? What's going on?
Dom will look at him and just say, I have news, and it's not good.
Hmm.
But before that, I want to make something clear. Whatever this is between us, I would like more of it.
You talk so much.
Just enough, I'd like to think.
Hmm. I would say a little bit more than enough in most cases, but that's okay. You're nervous. I understand that.
I am.
Hmm. What is this great revelation?
Flag has plans for you.
I know. I'm supposed to be some sort of gift, he says. I don't really know what he means. I think the old man's crazy, to be perfectly honest. I mean, look at the way he lives his life. But I have to say, he makes my presence worth my time, if you know what I mean, financially speaking. It's not a bad gig if you can get it.
I was worried for a moment there, but
Just
I
standing around being
understand.
a tower of masculinity. I'm very good at it.
You are. The end goal of Flag's plan would leave you with very little say on how your masculinity was used.
I am confused. Are you saying that this thing that he's been talking about, someone from outer space, is real?
Yes, there are a great deal of things that are more real than you might think.
So what do they intend to do with me? Intergalactic gladiatorial combat, I suppose.
Possibly, but you would not be around to see it.
And he's sort of like, kind of gives you a funny look. And he's like, what are you saying?
They want your body, my dear, not what might reside within.
The Theatre Grand Guignol. Ben, please describe Act 2, in which, pushed past her limits, the nanny murders her bratty charges. How does the audience respond?
We see the nanny bringing out the children's meals on a tray, the fancy plates and shining cutlery for their food, and the plain, simple, cheap for her own. And the children, one of them sticks out a leg as she crosses, and she trips, and the food falls to the floor. And the children laugh, and the audience laughs. But the nanny sits or kneels on the ground, staring at that fancy knife. And then, in a movement that is almost dancerly, she grabs the knife and whips it around. And in a feat of theatrical technology that surely is pushing the limits, one of the child's heads just flies off in a ribbon of red. And the audience cheers as the little girl begins to scream. And the nanny raises the knife again, and another head in shadow flies off.
Fabulous. Ms. Balakwa, you are down in the wine cellar. There's a constant draft, persistent water damage, and a gaping hole in the wall. Everyone, several small toys were removed from the hole and set aside. Wow, really, this is just for Ms. Balakwa. Ms. Balakwa, when you hold the toys in your hands, do you feel comfort or terror, and why?
I feel a very deep, profound, primal sort of terror that I once did when I was a child. I can't say why without revealing more of my past.
I am going to make you roll the night move to keep your composure, unless you let the man in the sun mask take your hand to comfort you.
I actually reached back for his.
Good. And he says, I suppose you might consider this venue for our little date night to be rather morbid. And yet
I recall mentioning.
I find this is an incredible place of power, of energy. Surely you sense it.
It's quite heady, the power of it. but I recall mentioning that we should meet outdoors. At least it is a little cozier than our last meeting.
Yes, I suppose it is. He has a table laid out. There's food. There's even a couple of white-wigged servants wearing star masks. What's on the menu?
A series of pies and other picnic foods, as if we were actually eating under the sun.
How does the dinner go?
I eat, glancing over at the hole in the wall occasionally. He does not eat, as is his custom. I think that my first question to him would be, what about the power of this place speaks to you?
The monks who built this abbey many, many years ago, they did not really understand why they chose this place. But the truth of it is, it sits on a nexus point. There are very powerful lines of energy, invisible lines of energy, that cross the earth, and where they meet, their power is concentrated. This is one such place. That power was only magnified when that little girl was walled up right over there centuries ago. She,
As he's describing these, I'm making a gesture as if I'm reaching out for one with my hand absentmindedly.
I thought that you, more than anyone else, could understand a place like this.
I wonder where all that power went and who
Well,
summoned it.
there is much to be learned. I don't know how adventurous you're feeling tonight, but I thought we might spend the evening in the wall.
I think that first I'd like to try something. I reach out for his hand across the table.
He takes it.
I would like to cast a ritual.
Oh, rites of salt and smoke.
I want to be able to see another time and place.
Oh, I love it. Go ahead and roll. Go ahead and roll it. Well, first of all, what's the blood sacrifice? It's blood, right? That you do.
It is. So I have his hand in mine, and I will take a knife in this hand, and I imagine there is a moment of murmuring amongst the staff, but just a moment as I quickly slice the length of my wrist and smear my blood across his hand.
Go ahead and roll it.
That's a 5 and a 6. That's a 13.
Wow. That's
As
terrific.
as I summon this smoke, this dark, billowing Icarus smoke from myself, it floods from behind the moon mask, kind of creating an opposite dark halo, unlike his opium cloud. And I feel the spirits biting and pricking and pinching at me as I usually do, but now it cascades over him as well, in which he can feel them caressing his skin and underneath his mask. And once we are covered in darkness, I would like to shift and see a point in which this girl was put into the wall in the first place.
I like it. That's good. Go ahead and make the information move as well, but with sensitivity. And at advantage, too.
Okay. As a 6 plus 2 is 8.
Okay.
Can I mark a mask to just be successful?
The complication won't be that severe.
All right.
Unless you just want to. Oh, I think the complication is going to be he will want to spend the night with you in the wall.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, this is too soon in our relationship. I would very much like to check a mask.
Okay, you can. I mean, you don't have to. You can just refuse him, but like that could have its own complications, right?
I would like to check this mask anyway at this
Okay.
moment. So
Okay. Let's cut over to. Let's see. Let's do the lurker. So, what have you prepared for him, Jakob, down in the hole?
Well, I like to think that the kitchen has a back door with a little set of stairs going down that lead into the backyard. And I just sit down on the stairs and say to this little vampire child, I say, I suspect that as a child you've not been given many gifts, and I hold up my filigreed puzzle box that I've never solved, and beckon for the child to come up to the stairs and sit with me, and say, go and try it. See if you can open this. There's a special prize within inside.
I think he opens it in like 3 seconds.
Oh, damn it. I was hoping I could keep him busy here until the sun came up.
What does he find inside?
Children and these Rubik's cubes. Good grief, I don't even know. I've never been able to open it. What does he find inside?
Is it just empty?
No, let me think of something
who
here.
gave it to you? Where'd you get it?
This was from the very beginning in the personal quarters. I don't remember who
Oh.
specifically described it.
Oh, so but it might have been something that was like left with you as a baby or something when your parents found you, I think was the implication.
Yeah, that's, and so I'm trying to think like what weird little Martian token.
I think it's like a
would be
little
in there.
Martian ring, a strange ring made of strange metal.
All right.
And the little boy, this pallid little boy who smells of blood and grave dirt and who's wearing ragged clothes, he smiles and he puts the ring on. And then he looks
Now we
at you
definitely have to keep
expectantly,
him.
like, what's next?
Right. Well, let's I'm a little hungry. Let's go into the kitchen and see if we can find something for you to snack on. And
Indeed. You can go
we'll paw through our ice chest for something that's got blood in it, and wring out the meat into a glass. And pull out some fine linen, give him a little nappy or a bib rather, and offer him up in a nice glass a nice glass of cold blood from a cow or something, sheep, probably a
Very
sheep.
good. Okay, good.
My main
Dom.
goal is to keep this kid busy until the sun comes up, and then he has to stay contained within the.
Oh, so we can't leave. Got
go
it. Yeah.
go hide down here. It'll be safe here, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's good. Dom, you're upstairs, and you've just revealed this to the slugger, and he says, "So, what do you think I should do?"
I think Dom will grow a little pale, and he'll kind of look away, and he'll say, I think you should stay here
In this house,
for now.
in this room.
No complaints from me.
I think it's probably a bit small for both of us. I'm very big, you know.
I am aware. I think there could be a place for you here, Hargrave House.
Oh, will I get to break into people's homes and sneak around? That seems like what you all do.
It is one of the perks.
Mm.
Mostly, you get to, well, do what you already do. Fight.
Hmm. I suppose I've been something of a fool this whole time.
Flag is not what he seems, and we are just learning. Or I am just learning.
I'd like to get my hands on him again.
I think that might be an option.
Lady Florence, the Pharaohs are respectable middle-class family. I think William Pharaoh answers the door, and he says, I assume you have the bones in like a satchel or something. It says, Is that what I think it is? This is not just some skeleton you found somewhere in London that you're giving to me and telling me it's my brother in order to make me feel better.
It wouldn't have taken quite this long if it was just some skeleton.
What caused you to want to finally do what's right?
I think she just doesn't say anything.
So he takes them and says, I guess I should thank you. My mother will appreciate knowing that Anton is going to be buried in our family crypt at peace at last. Huh. And
I'm just glad that you have closure on this, really.
oh, are you? Great.
Yeah.
Okay, great. You enjoy the rest of your evening, Lady Wilton Davies.
I do have a little scene if we want to flashback at some point to her digging up the bones.
That'd be fun at the end,
okay.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. The Theatre Grand Guignol. Brian, please describe Act 3, in which the nanny gets her comeuppance. The final scene should be very bloody.
So the nanny, looking at these two decapitated children, kind of stands upright, holding this bloody knife in her hand. And just then the housemaid comes in and is like, that's, you're done for. And the nanny just realizes that if she doesn't, murder this person too, she's going to be hanging. And so she murders the maid. And then it leads to this montage of her walking through the house. And the way they play it out on the stage is basically like they're rolling like a wall that represents a room behind her. And she's kind of striding in place. And, the under butler comes through and she murders the under butler. And then the scullery maid is there scrubbing dishes and she murders the scullery maid. And, she eventually gets to the kitchen and murders the kitchen maid. And she's just completely soaked in blood. Her entire clothing is just pure red, dripping at this point. And she sets the knife down on the counter for a moment, opens a bottle of wine, pours a glass into this fine chalice sort of thing, takes a sip, pours more wine, another sip. Her breathing's kind of slowing down finally. And she picks the knife back up, picks up the bottle of the wine, and goes to head out the front door of the house to sort of walk her way to freedom. And she forgets about the traps those kids dug in the front yard. And she pitches in and lands on the knife. Just as the sun rises. And the curtain descends.
Fantastic. Ms. Balakwa, you're in the Abbey. And it's centuries before. because this space is not even, it's not even underground. There's a window and you can see out, and you see a very, very primitive London out the window. And you also see a monk putting in the last brick, sealing it up. And you hear the girl in the wall screaming to be let out. And the monk is just weeping the whole time, tears running down his eyes. And when it's over, he walks over to the table that the two of you just had dinner at. And he steps up to it, puts a noose around his neck, and kicks the table out from underneath him, and hangs and dies. That's your clue.
Oh. Oh. Not quite the romantic interlude I think you intended.
I think the man in the sun mask is not there when you get back.
I say to an empty room.
Indeed.
The tendrils of my magic still licking at my edges as I try and figure out how I'm going to sneak through the abbey to make it out as invisibly as I went in.
Indeed, indeed. Dom? How does the rest of the night proceed with the slugger?
I think Dom's going to take the man's mention that maybe he speaks too much to heart and try and speak as little as possible. But he is, I think this is the most nervous Dom has been in possibly years. And he kind of hates how important this suddenly feels to him. And I think as the night goes on, he's going to just say, so you'll stay.
How's the food?
Depends if I'm cooking.
Okay, fine. I'll stay.
You never told me your name.
He smiles. I thought you liked mysteries.
I like solving them even better.
Very good. Jakob, how does this wrap up with the lurker?
I there's like kind of a flashback here to a scene before we all went our separate ways for the evening, where Dom said, "Look, I'll feed the kid if we need to." So I know that I've got a capable hunter to somehow supply whatever bloody snacks this thing needs. So I basically keep the kid entertained with magic finger tricks where my fingers pop apart and other things that vampiric children might enjoy. Maybe I take the kid back down and no, would I do that? Yeah, maybe for a small like don't get out of hand thing, take them down on a little tour and show them Julia staked to the wall and say, when vampires misbehave, bad things happen. And so I really feel like it would be best if you stayed here in the sort of chamber beneath the kitchen, and my friend Mr. Constantine can help you, can keep you fed and safe and warm and loved. And you'll be safe down here. The sun's coming up clearly, like you don't want to risk trying to go out now. And I'll climb back up into the kitchen and slide I don't know what, a cupboard over the hole that also has a stove jammed into it, just to try and like block the sunlight a little bit more. And what from there? I will pick up, go over to a table, pick up a pen and paper, and start writing a letter to my parents to let them know how things are going in London.
Lady Florence, give us your little flashback.
Yeah, so Lady Florence is walking through the catacombs. She seems to know exactly where she's going, and finds this section of brick and grabs a shovel and starts kicking into it and digging it out. And as the hole forms, she looks inside and just starts snickering. She's laughing, very amused as she pulls out the remains of Anton Farrow, puts them in this sack, and is walking away laughing. And she shakes her head and just says, "Roger, Roger, you never understood the points of these stories." And the camera looks back into the hole, and there's a cask of Amontillado sitting inside of it.
Very good. Very good. Dom, I'm going to give you, because you've resolved 2 threats, you're going to take 2 O's on your hunt, unless you tell me that you are not going to tolerate a vampire being below the house and you just dispatch the lurker the first chance you get.
No,
In
I
which case
think
you get X.
I think Dom is going to keep the kid around for now,
Okay.
as long as the kid's useful.
For next time, please think about how these 2 threats being resolved get you closer to the beast. I don't need to know yet, but just when we meet again. And we'll go to the dawn phase real quick. We're getting pretty close on time. We'll try to hurry through. There are rewards to be collected, so let's collect them. The lurker. All right, so we've got quite a few rewards to pick from here. I'm going to do the lurker first. You can take Jenny Johnston as a recurring side character. You get an extra clue whenever you seek her counsel about events in East London. The Man in the Sun Mask becomes a recurring side character. You get 1 extra clue when you seek his counsel about other worlds. The lurker becomes a recurring side character if you make arrangements for it to safely feed. The factotum, oh, there's no factotum, so forget that one. A memento from the investigation, as 2 options there. So who's taking what?
I suppose just to reaffirm my relationship status, I will have the Sun Mask be a recurring character.
All right. Noted. What about the others?
I'll take the vampire.
Okay.
Lady Florence was mainly involved in this from like an objective and object based perspective, so I think a memento from the investigation. Do
It's
I
something
pick
you
which
pinched
hunter?
from Admiral Flagg's house.
Can be. Well, that wasn't really directly connected to the investigation. It could be anything
Sure.
that
Right.
it doesn't even have to be something that came up. It could just be something implied.
I mean, I would point to Jakob since you were the one like facilitating the solution on what that memento is.
From Limehouse.
Yes.
All right. That in searching for these little filigreed cages to house the bats, I found a cage that you'd misplaced and you'd been looking for, and contained within is a shriveled monkey.
Cool. Tiny little shriveled monkey
In a cage.
in a cage.
Jakob, what are you taking for a reward?
I think I'll take the Jenny Johnston side character.
Sounds good. And these
Learn
characters
from-
are available for everyone to access. It's not just the person who chose it.
Where do we record those? The characters?
They're on the moves reference tab in the middle.
Okay.
Okay, great. Love all that. Let's now go to the Shortage Slugger, which is a different thing. Hold on. Computer's wigging out for some reason. Give me a minute. Nope. What it's doing. Let's try that again. Okay. For the Shortage Slugger, we have a pair of knuckle dusters stained intractably with blood, a bottle of Dr. Rogan's botanical elixir for men, or a memento.
Did the elixir come up?
It never came up. No, it's just I think it's just meant to be men at Bout Club doing men stuff, being men.
Hey, Ben, why don't you do a memento for me?
I think you have a hairpin made out of a bear claw.
Sexy. Thank you.
I think it's kind of funny for Lady Florence to just take the elixir for men.
Sarah, do you want to pick a memento for Jakob?
A fat jar of honey.
Could we have the slugger as a side character?
Oh yeah, I'll give you that. Yeah, it works. Absolutely. Add him. No problem. Is that everybody? Shortage Slugger. I love that. And there's also rewards for the Reaver's Last Victim, which is just one reward available once to the whole group, which is Mask of Care. This aspect of the Janus mask can be used at any time and can only be used once. When used, each hunter narrates a scene where someone they helped before does them a kindness. That concludes rewards. Dawn questions. Lady Florence, you didn't get a chance to do Dawn questions last time because you had to bail Mike, but I do think that
I flipped these this dawn. I think the other one that I had in here was social status to gain, or sorry, is what did I have in here before I changed it? Sorry, it might have been loyalty to Her Majesty.
Oh,
I felt like I didn't hit any when I was looking at it. At the
did you have a
beginning of
cap?
this
Did you do a capital Q question last week? I can't remember if you all did or not.
No.
No.
Yeah,
Okay,
we
well,
solved the Reaver last week, but we
Yes.
didn't actually. We
Okay.
answered the question, but we didn't resolve
Yeah,
it.
you answered the question. So you can take one XP for that.
Okay,
Lady
okay.
Florence. Yeah.
Okay.
And then you'll take another one for this week. So everyone's getting to the hunters answer a question, and everyone's getting to the hunters resolve a threat.
Got it.
So with those two and last week, Lady Florence, you'll get 3 marks total. Lady Florence, did you get an echo in the night?
Yeah, that's what the flashback with the hole and laughing about
yeah.
the body being in the
Oh,
hole.
yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Ms. Balakwa, Echo of the Night.
I can't recall what it was, so I guess perhaps not.
Mr. Constantine.
The contrast between the set in the nanny's room and Dom's room and the Hargrave
yeah.
House.
Okay, yeah, I like it. Did you get one, Jakob?
Yeah, the glass with blood.
Mm-hmm.
In the kitchen.
Fabulous. Lady Florence, did you leverage your social status to gain the upper hand? Yes, you did. Did you have a face-to-face encounter with the mastermind? Yes, you did. Good XP sesh for Lady Florence. Ms. Balakwa, did you make love to a dark entity because it felt good? You did
I'm
not.
sure the opportunity would have presented itself, but it did not feel good.
No. Did you perform a ritual, however? Yes, you did.
I did.
Mr. Constantine, did you try to go unnoticed in a public space? I don't know how public the house is.
I don't think that qualifies.
Yeah.
No.
Did you revel in the thrill of the hunt?
No, it's much more low key today than I
It really
expected.
was, yeah. Jakob, did you demonstrate extreme naivete when faced with the horrors of London? I would say so. I think going down there to talk to Julius is really, like, very naive,
Keep
actually.
inviting vampires into Hargrave House.
Yeah, like just like all the vampires, yeah. Did you go on and on about your bucolic life back home?
I don't know that I did, really.
I don't think you did, yeah. Do we have any open Janus Mask?
I have one.
I think in the interest of time, we'll just do it next week if that's okay.
Absolutely fine.
And I think also Lady Florence has one too, if I'm not mistaken. We'll just do it next week. And you get to reassign the keys for your 5 vaults of Tarthor, Jakob. And that will conclude the session. We do a real fast stars and wishes. So, stars and wishes. Whoever wants to go, take it away.
Right off the top, there in the chat, Mike, your Caligula's hilarious. Roman ghouls. That just like set my whole mood for this for all of it. And there was a lot of really earnest, thought-provoking kind of feelings from everybody today and their characters. Jakob trying to nurse everybody and still treating Julius like he's a real human being and not just some vampire staked to the wall that he's keeping in the basement. Dom had a lot of touching emotional stuff. Lady Florence is, while not necessarily having feelings in the traditional sense, is getting called out by her peers of like, why are you with that strange house anyway? So I felt like we all kind of dove deep or deeper, even without all of the masks that kind of like facilitate that. Wishes, I'm impending space. Like all of the like lead up to this is feeling the momentum is really good. Everything seems to be synchronous. So it's just exciting to see what's next.
Stars, I really love Victoria interacting with the Man in the Sun Mask. I'm glad that he's a side character and look forward to him popping up and just seeing that relationship or whatever it is develop more. Lady Florence going mask off there, and the cask of Amontillado was good. I liked that little twist on it, and I look forward to as we see more of the space stuff, probably how Lady Florence interacts with that. And I really, Brian, thank you for the opportunity for Dom to continue to be mean and dismissive of Jakob. I always enjoy that. And yeah, the scenes with the child and Julius were gold. I liked, getting to see more babies and gardens, touchy and feely stuff from the group, and I hope that it gets used as daggers against us moving forward. And so there's a wish.
I really loved the theorizing that you all came up with on the shortage slugger, that this weakness was that they were being prepped as a vessel. That was really amazing. What else? Miss Balakwa slapping away that pickpocket while carrying on a conversation was such a good image. And I didn't expect it to come around as extensively as it did, but I like the imagery of a child in the workhouse with a gift bat hidden in their cloak, and like that alone was good. I was surprised how it came back.
Just a big star for the Shortridge Slugger as a threat, and just the way that that whole arc developed. It was a lot of fun. I think everybody was involved in it at some point, and yeah, it was just really cool to see that one unfold. I haven't played that one before, and yeah, I think it set off in some weird direction that is very unique to the group, which I think speaks to the game and to the group and all of that type of thing. Um, yeah, I just want to that's my star. Everything about that whole thing was great. Uh Wish is, yeah, I mean, from my own character's perspective, I kept on saying it in the chat, but like Lady Florence is at this point where her masks are going to very overtly make her a villain. And I think that there's always been that like planting the seed, like I've been trying to play into that of, yeah, like she's not a terribly good person, even though she's endearing. But I think that that'll be the challenge. I think I have some ideas on how to do it, but the challenge is like, how do I have this like truly terrible character also be like warm and endearing and a protagonist? So I think that's going to be really interesting to explore in the book. And so I wish that I do that well and don't just become like an extra villain for the group. So yeah.
I really had a great time today. I love it when Hargrave House is really like firing on all cylinders and like getting things done. I think that's fun, especially because you all had kind of like let a lot of things pile up, but then like you managed to clear 3 of them, so that was great in one go. It felt like a very dramatic moment. It almost felt like the sort of like mid-season finale, right, of the TV show, which I thought was really great. Um, love the relationship between the Slugger and Dom. I particularly love that little moment of like, you never told me your name, and it's like, well, I thought you liked mysteries, and that was really good. Loved all that. Really enjoyed. I actually really enjoyed the little scene between William Farrow and Lady Florence. That was really like fun. Just because, like, God, like just I mean, just like the condemnation, from the pharaohs towards Lady Florence specifically was really like just interesting to see. I also enjoyed the little scene with Lady Winifred and Lady Florence. Lady Winifred's an interesting character. Um, liked her a lot. I imagined her as almost like a like a like almost like a is it Kristen Scott Thomas who plays the wife on Gosford Park? I kind of imagined her like that kind of character. Anyway, um, I don't think I have the actress right there, but in any case, really enjoyed it. I also really liked I love the whole thing with the Man in the Sun mask in the Kilburn Abbey. I really like that that Ms. Balakwa has kind of taken like that threat as hers, like it's her threat, right? Like like no one else worked on that one. And it's kind of interesting because the way you and the Man in the Sun mask are interacting with it, it's almost like it's two like explorers or researchers, like kind of like investigating the world, or kind of, it's like how you're learning each other and knowing each other is through this like horrifying scene in this abbey, right? And he was ready to take it to the next level, even if Miss Balakwa was not.
We'll figure out a little bit more of that with my mask, because this little girl being walled up in a wall is
yeah
more
yeah
wishes.
I think it's I'm very, that's a wish of mine, just to see how this whole thing plays out. I think it's really interesting. And and I thought Jakob has this like way of operating in this world that is very it has this like sort of like, that naivete and that lightness comes through in a really interesting way. I thought the moments with the kid vampire, especially when he solves your little box so fast, I thought that was really great. So just dug all that. It was good stuff. Yeah.
Martian manners.
Mm-hmm. I think that's all I've got, though. Are there any other stars or wishes? Okay, well then I'm gonna wave goodbye.